Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you. I'm so thankful you are here. Welcome, welcome. I'm Ken Arrington, co-founder of Awake to Dream. And today I'm going to share a vision of a powerful future with you. Actually, let me reframe this. Today I'm inviting you to become part of a dynamic and foundational change, not just in a region, but all around the globe. And today, we're friends, you and I. We're sitting at my kitchen table. It's nothing fancy, with some artwork that a friend of ours made for us a long, long time ago. And we're just sitting here having a conversation. If you're looking for highfalutin graphics and high-pressure sales pitches and things like that, that's not what we do. At Awake to Dream, we dream, and we roll up our sleeves, and we get to work. And I am inviting you to be a part of a vision, and our focus today is on our groundbreaking project in Puerto Rico, a very unique 64-acre farm that promises to be not just a beacon of hope for a community that's been ravaged by forced poverty, but is a catalyst for global transformation. And you have a powerful role to play. Imagine a place where every seed sown is a step towards sustainability, every harvest of victory against both physical and spiritual hunger, and every retreat and workshop are lights that shine the way like a beacon on a hill. Because our project is not just a farm. In fact, it's not even a project. It's a body, mind, and spirit lifeline for the people of Puerto Rico, offering a path to self-sufficiency, empowerment, environmental restoration, and unshackled lives. But that doesn't just remain here in Puerto Rico. That is for people who are coming to visit and taking a piece of what they learn back with them. And we're here because this movement is not going to stop in Puerto Rico. This is a seed of revolution that will change uncountable destinies for generations. And we're here today to turn this vision into a reality. And we're looking for partnerships, for people who align with this vision, to lay the foundation for a revolution that will not only feed bodies, but nourish the spirit and unlock awakening. And together, we're going to create a legacy of resilience, redemption, renewal, and sustainable prosperity that we truly believe can reshape reality for those who need it most. And in so doing, shift the future for generations. And right now, before we begin, I want us to indulge together a little bit. I want you to close your eyes. Go ahead, close them. You can trust me. I'm not going to do anything, all right? Just close your eyes. I want you to dream with me for a little bit. I'm going to keep you safe. I promise not to lose you along the way. But I am asking for your trust because I want to show you something amazing. Now, I know that you might be a little curious. You might want to close your eyes. You might want to keep your eyes open and see what's going on. And if you do that, I've prepared a few slides. But I do encourage you to keep your eyes closed. So let's just take a deep breath together. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With your eyes closed and your mind's eye open, I want you to envision yourself as a feather caught up in high, wispy clouds. You're safe. You're drifting at peace in the air. You're in control. You're not falling. You're merely floating. And in your mind's eye, as we're floating as a feather together, we're drifting high above an island, a rectangle of radiant green terrain surrounded by blue ocean, where the cool winds of the water breathe across the landscape, shifting the countless trees of the mountains, the hills, the rainforests and valleys. And from high in the clouds as we drift slowly down, slowly down, we can see that there is a sacred dance to the land as the winds and the breezes swirl. And make no mistake, it's breathtaking, seeing how the mountains and valleys have worked for thousands of years in harmony, giving birth to beautiful beaches that line the island with a delicate tightrope of sand. Drifting lower, you can see the blue-green lines of rivers as they meander down and carve their way down the landscape to the ocean. And as the wind pulls us along, you can see that along the north and east coasts of the island, there's crashing waves and packed beaches. And with those crowded beaches are the unmistakable outlines of towering buildings and resorts. You can see the swell of development, small towns and cities hugging the sides of the island like they're holding on for dear life. And in the resorts, for those in the resorts, it's like paradise, swimming out into warm waters, frolicking on the beach, smiles on faces. They've come to the island as an escape from their 9-to-5 lives. But as the wind catches us up again and pushes us away from the resorts, we see a different reality of this island. We see the truth that not many from the mainland see. As we drift over the cities and the rural areas, you see buildings with broken roofs, yards filled with debris, broken, pockmarked roads. Looking closer, the homes that were so beautiful from high above, as you get closer, you see the bars on the windows and the doors, the cracked foundations and the weak support. You see broken lives. You see struggle. You see the elderly, the impoverished, the neglected, men and women and children at risk, wondering how they're going to afford not just clothing and shelter, but food and clean water. You see the smokestacks of empty factories being reclaimed with the vines and foliage of the rainforest, leaching chemicals into the ground. You see refineries releasing waste into the rivers. You see the streams that looked so pure from high above, but upon closer inspection, you see they're choked with ancient pesticides from over-farmed lands that now lie fallow. The nutrition of its soil depleted from over 130 years of imported commercial cash crops not native to the land. And you realize that behind the photos of paradise that you've seen from those visiting from the outside, from the inside, the picture's quite different. You feel the hopelessness, the cost of natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes. And with that, economic futility, falling upon the people that have called this island home for generations. You feel the despair rising from the ones struggling to survive in this land, those who live in the shadow of forgotten promises and abused potential. But don't despair. This dream's not going to be a nightmare. Because amidst this stark reality, there are glimmers of light, rising as beacons of hope. For people are rising up with a dream in their heart to see a transformed land. And in the southwest corner of this resilient island, this place, the rich port, Puerto Rico, a beautiful light is shimmering into existence, beckoning you to its shine. Imagine now as the feather of your imagination drifts gently down. You find yourself landing softly on a lush mountaintop on a patch of fertile soil, rich with promise and possibility. Here amidst the struggles and the scars, a community gathers with a shared dream to turn this broken corner of paradise into a thriving oasis of growth, learning, and prosperity. A place where heaven and earth meet, where hope thrives and destinies are realized and redeemed. You see hope brightening the eyes and dreams sprouting from the minds of those this community serves. You see, joy of the hearts that we serve. Now I want you to open your eyes. Welcome back. Now I know you probably had your eyes open for a little bit of that. I saw you peeking. But I want you to let the vision linger. This piece of lush farmland dripping with thick vegetation, yielding up abundance from the soil. A vision of hands joined in unity and hearts beating with determination and minds fueled and brimming with passion and innovation. Because this is our chance, together, to partner with and to radically steward and reshape a region in crisis. And to help write a new chapter in this land's story. This is a journey that today we're inviting you to join. A journey where every seed planted is a symbol of resilience, where every partnership forged is a testament to hope, and where every dream nurtured becomes reality. Welcome to the awakening of a community, the revival of spirit, and the birth of a legacy. Because that is who we are at Awake to Dream Incorporated. My name's Ken Arrington, and I'm the director of Awake to Dream Incorporated, a U.S. and Puerto Rico-based charity and nonprofit whose mission is to help people reawaken to who they really are and become who they were created to be, offering hope, transformation, inspiration, and innovation. And in Puerto Rico, one of the ways we are doing this is by establishing a self-sustained, eco-friendly community farm aimed at alleviating food insecurity, providing disaster relief, and empowering the local community through education, sustainable agriculture, and intentional living practices, all offered free of charge to those in need. And while that all sounds good and official, and it is our mission statement as recognized in our Constitution and bylaws, what we're doing in Puerto Rico and what we're inviting you to is way, way more. So much more, as you're going to find out over the next 25 minutes and in the Q&A. But before going further, I'd like to introduce you to a few folks. First and foremost is my wife and partner, Jennifer Arrington. She's absolutely amazing. She is my partner, my equal, by my side in every way. She's an incredible recording artist and transformational specialist. And her heart, pastorally, is unlike anything I've ever met. Additionally, I'd like to introduce you to two of our trustees. The first is Sue Pottinger. She's with us today, and Jacob Tippett as well. These are two of our trustees, the guidance for this project. And part of our core team already here on the ground in Puerto Rico is Zane and Heather Schott. Now, many of you know my wife and I, or you know us through our outreaches, our ministries, and online content. You may know me from my books as a content creator, or Jennifer from her music. Or you might know us from our UK-based charity that I founded and directed, The Gathering Place, which since 2019 has assisted thousands of people in need, creating a community that addresses the needs of the abused, the neglected, and the at-risk, creating a safe place offering clothing, coats, toiletries, counseling, a place to stay warm, computer lab, a play area for kids, exercise classes, art and sound therapy, homeschool and after-school tutorials, addiction help and addiction recovery, you name it, all provided to the public at no cost, regardless of race, gender, faith, disability, doesn't matter. The Gathering Place is a place where dreams come alive. It's a community resource where volunteers are given all the power. We're not program driven. We're driven by the passion of our volunteers. No one's paid a salary. There's no payroll. Instead, we find what burns in a person's heart, the seed that they have deep inside, and we merely water it. We resource it and provide it room to grow. And all the income that comes in is viewed as a seed to be stewarded to bring about more fruit. And pay attention to that, because that's going to come up later. Because what we do is not about projects. It's about people. fueled by passion, becoming who they are, all in service to their fellow man. My wife and I, and our 4 children, we've given away everything we own multiple times, relocating continents twice. Not towns, not cities, not states, not countries, continents twice. Living this out, helping others discover this in themselves, to build the dreams that have lain on our collective hearts. We're passionate to see reality shift and for people to have the opportunity to become who they were created to be, free from shame, trauma, and judgment. And when given a vision, our family, we're together, all or nothing, diving into the deep end with no plan B and no backup option. I've been all over the world, teaching others, learning from others, leading others, and always believing that at their core, people want to see real change on this earth. And I truly, truly believe in my heart of hearts that when enough people realize who they are and how beautiful, special, and unique they are, we can make this earth look like heaven. And in 2021, I had a vision of a very unique farm in the mountains of a tropical island. Now, it might sound crazy to you, but this was an actual vision. And you might not believe in visions and dreams, and that's okay if you don't, but we do. We base our lives on them. And just the same as when I began having visions in October 2017 of a shop front in Wales, UK, that was dedicated to helping the public and providing resources and counseling and hope to the lost and hurting, all for free. Another vision came to me on May 1st, 2021, as I was walking my kids to a nearby playground. At that point, our family had been in the UK for almost 3 years, and our charity was humming along, but I was wondering what our next steps were. I was praying about our next steps because we knew the UK wasn't our end stop. We just knew that. And at that moment on cue, I had a powerful vision of a lush green farm. And this vision, oh God, it took my breath away in its complexity. As a guy that was only familiar with home gardening, what I saw in the vision was farming unlike anything I knew. The terrain wasn't the standard farm fields that I was used to seeing growing up in North Carolina. The land in this vision was hot, it was humid, with thick rain and soil, and I knew that this vision was set in the tropics. There were fields in this vision, but they were different. They were filled with vertical growth, and each about an acre and a half. But there was also what I can only explain as acres upon acres upon acres, sweeping down this mountainside, with vegetation sweeping up terraces and hillsides, with thick verdant fruit just growing like huge on the vine. And tropical flowers, they bloomed along the ridges of the hills, and sunflowers, fields of sunflowers were everywhere. And thousands of shimmering fish swam in these tubs. And remember, we're on an island. It was just so unique that these huge aquaponic tubs with tubing running out of these large vats, and I knew that it was providing the surrounding acreage with the water from the tubs, and it was, like a powerful fertilizer. It was like a self-contained system enabling multiple yields, and melons and gourds and root vegetables were in great supply, just literally pouring out the tops of raised beds. And just blossoming acres and acres and acres of varied terrain and varied topography, but everything just yielding this abundant, massive amount of food, and massive groves of fruit, coffee and cacao, plantains and bananas. They danced along these trails surrounding the mountain, while livestock with goats and chickens grazed nearby. It's beautiful. And a river ran around the property, supplying it with fresh water, and water pumped up from the river, providing most of the farm's needs. Additionally, I knew that this farm would be an exercise in sustainable initiatives, water and solar and more, being self-contained and able to withstand disaster. And in fact, I immediately knew this place would be a refuge from disaster, providing resources to those in need and teaching others how to provide for themselves. And in many ways, It would be the difference between life and death for some in times of need. But I also knew that this farm would be a playground of sorts, where new farming initiatives would thrive, offering opportunities for experimentation and trial and error, working with local universities and commercial enterprises to test organic and pesticide-free alternatives, as well as working with roots and herbs and plants as medicine. That was huge. And I knew in the vision that everything raised would go back to a local community in the grip of poverty. That every bit of fruit, every vegetable, every bit of coffee and cacao, everything that the land produced would go to those in need within the community, providing nutritious, organic, and pesticide-free food for the hungry. Just like we did at the gathering place, everything that was raised on this farm would be given away to those in need and would be a resource to teach others how to do it themselves. I saw where communities and community leaders would come to receive from the land, where university students and professors would come and have unfettered access, where others would come and be fed and would in turn learn to feed others. But not just that, and if the vision wasn't detailed enough, on the property there was a large single-story house. But our family didn't live there. In fact, no one lived in that house full-time. The house was a place where people were hosted, people who were coming to work with the land, people who would travel from all around the world to offer help and healing, to lead classes and conferences and meetings and retreats, to partner and join with the vision, bringing a piece of their heart to this land for others in need. And there were courtyards, communal areas outside of this home that could welcome dozens of people all at once, with the ability to operate as a community kitchen, helping to provide meals for others. The emphasis was around gathering together for a common good, everyone coming to contribute to the whole, a community designed to impact communities, bringing in people from around the world who had a heart for awakening, who had a heart for good, and for releasing love and serving to others. People that realized that it wasn't enough to talk the talk, but it was about walking the walk. And down a small rise, there was a clearing with 7 unique tiny homes, offering additional temporary housing for those who were traveling to this farm, a farm that was so much more than a farm, to work the land and share in the project for a week or weeks at a time. And while there, these people would also experience their own transformation through health and spiritual retreats and programs, and by working with the public that the farm serves. The vision was so intense, so real, so visceral. I immediately stopped my walk. I started writing down the details of the vision in my journals, and I wrote everything down in detail. And during the Q&A, I'll be happy to show that journal. But if you know me, and those that are watching that know me well, you know that when something like this happens, when I get a hold of a vision, I'm a man possessed. And immediately I dove into discovering everything I could about tropical plant growth, building small, tiny home communities, how to even build a community like that. I studied earthship housing, A-frame housing, storage container housing. I began studying compostable toilets, wastewater management, trash disposal, tiered community involvement. And I began to freak out because I soon realized this was beyond me. How could we do something like this? I mean, we had created a charity in Wales with a dozen or so volunteers and a regional outreach to NHS hospitals and nursing homes and town councils. That was one thing, but this was different. And to top it off, I didn't even know where this farm was supposed to be. But when I closed my eyes, I could see it. And I want you to imagine it. I could hear the birds in the trees. I could feel the soil in my hands. I could see the way the morning mist wrapped around the mountain and mingled in the trees. And I could see the smiles of those we were coming to help, those who were going to bed with more than just a full belly, but were going to go to bed with hearts full of hope, wonder, and love. And after sharing the vision with my wife, you know my wife. And we discussed what we felt we were being called to. And Very quickly, I was connected with someone with intimate knowledge of us, who had a similar blueprint for what we were doing. Someone who was already hosting 50 mission teams from the mainland a year, over 500 volunteers from the mainland a year, and feeding over 600 people a month, all on a small farm in North Puerto Rico. And after we talked on the phone, he immediately invited us to visit his operation, so we came, and he showed us everything, opened up everything to us. He was so generous and so kind, and after the meeting, I was almost in tears because this vision just burned in my heart so deep. I couldn't see anything but it, but I was so scared. It's so big. It's beyond me, right? Something this scale, this massive, I didn't know how to run it, and he just looked at me with this fatherly compassion, and he smiled and he whispered, he said, I don't know how to do any of this either. I just bring together everyone who does, and I stand back and I resource them, and I allow them to do what they need to do. I just provide the passion, the space, and the opportunity. And it changed everything, because it dawned on me. This is what we do. This is who we are. That's what fire starters and pioneers do. We do the things that others say can't be done. But we listen to the heart of the land, and we hear the song of the land's people, and we say, yes, we're going to do whatever it takes. And on that trip, my wife and I, and I'm fully comfortable saying this, and I'm sorry if you aren't, but I am. We were divinely led to southwest Puerto Rico, hours away from where our friend was. And we were just touring around, but after visiting Mayuez, learning of the city and its people and its struggles, and more importantly, seeing the topography of the land that I had seen in the vision, we knew immediately this was divinely inspired. This is where the farm of my vision was supposed to be. Mayuez is the largest city in southwestern Puerto Rico with a population of 80,000. It's bordered on the west by beautiful ocean, to the north and east by mountains, and to the south by wide plains. But due to low-lying levels in the very active Punta Patalvas fault line, Mayuez is especially vulnerable to natural disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, and even tsunamis. And evidence of these disasters is everywhere in Mayuez. Broken buildings, broken roads, broken families. This video was taken just a few days ago, and you can see the devastation from hurricanes and earthquakes from 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago still remain. And I almost forgot to mention the beautiful ocean that surrounds Mayuez. There are 3 rivers that after they pass the refineries, the chemical pesticide plants, the pharmaceutical plants, the city, the waters are too polluted, with the main culprit, according to the EPA, being the pharmaceutical industry. And the beautiful ocean on this 6-mile part of the island has been declared not fit for human activity. Adding insult to injury, the economy of Mayuez has been in a downturn status for over 16 years, with unemployment levels running between 16 and 20%, and the average household income listed at $16,000 a year. That's not per person, by the way. It's per household. The average age in southwest Puerto Rico is 43 years old, with a significant brain drain of youth moving out of country for better opportunity. And groceries here, they cost 25% more than on the mainland, topped with 11.5% sales tax, not including an additional 4% tax for professional services, which is higher than any U.S. state. You see what's going on here, what these people are facing, not just from an economic level, but from a spiritual, a soul level. Due to antiquated shipping laws and taxation requirements, all incoming imports shipped by boat into Puerto Rico are required to come from U.S. ports and U.S. ships, driving up prices, to insane levels. And yes, there are innumerable crops that can grow year-round in Puerto Rico. But to add insult to injury, most commercial goods raised on this island are not distributed to the people of Puerto Rico, but are instead shipped to the mainland by corporate interests, forcing Puerto Ricans to import over 85% of their food from the United States. And that's according to the USDA. You want an avocado? Costs $3 for a non-organic avocado here. Do you want a bag of lettuce? It's $10 unless you want to buy the wilted stuff for $6. You want to splurge and cook with butter? 4 sticks of butter is $8. And that's not the fancy Irish butter. That's the Land O'Lakes stuff. And utilities. Oh man, don't even get me started. Electricity on here on the island is 250% higher than on the mainland due to its damaged and antiquated grid system, and it collapses all the time. So what does it mean? It means poverty. It means despair. It means loss of control of one's own destiny. It means the average person that lives here is just waiting for the next natural disaster or for the next shoe to drop. They can't look to the future because they're worrying about surviving today. And it's led to a collapse of self-worth and serious crises of faith. And it means the loss of one thing all of us need: hope. And government support. It's so little. Yeah, Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory and many do receive government support, but as Puerto Rico is not a state, government support here is greatly reduced from what's on the mainland. A family of 4 here is only eligible for about $410 a month in benefits compared to $717 on the mainland. And I'm going to be real with you, that doesn't go far for a family of 4 when a gallon of milk is $7. So you have an island country that's paying higher than U.S. mainland prices by up to 25% and subjected to U.S. import laws and taxation. It's economically pummeled, with the average household income sitting at $16,000 a year. And that's the reality that my wife and I were shown in 2022 when we visited. And coupled with the vision that we were given for a community eco-farm that was designed to not just heal the body, but heal the soul and change the very fabric of people's lives. There was no question for us. We knew. We knew. So we journeyed back to Wells. We handed off the community directorship of the gathering place to an amazing leadership team who are doing an incredible job. And in December 2023, our small family once again gave away everything we owned, and we came here to Puerto Rico to help in any way that we could. And God willing, we're going to help shift the reality of this country with your help. And after arriving in Puerto Rico in December, we just immediately set to our search for potential locations that would suit our needs, which was going to be a little tricky. Because after all, the vision we had, it was quite specific. Because this project was not going to be something on 3 to 4 acres, but we knew it had to be close to Mayaguez, which severely limited our options. And there's ample farmland around this city, but unfortunately, much of this land is flood prone because of hurricanes and tsunamis. And when we began this search, we were joined by Heather and Zane Schott. They fell in love with the vision that we had and knew they had a role to play. And Heather had grown up in Puerto Rico. It's part of her heritage, the daughter of missionary parents who served their community, literally giving everything of themselves for others. And this project, she had heard about it. It lit something on fire in her belly, leading her into the beginning of her own healing and her own spiritual healing. And together, when she arrived, we began praying visits to these properties, and we would go and we would pray and we would find wonderful options, but nothing quite fitting the bill of what it was that we were looking for. And then one night she sends me a message. She had found this very unique 64-acre property nestled in the hills of Mayaguez, less than 2 miles from the city's suffering downtown. And we set a meeting with the owner of the property who had had it on the market for a while, and we paid a visit. And immediately we knew it was the land. There was no doubt. After passing the gate of the property, we came to a thin strip of road climbing up to this beautiful hacienda, parking in front of an already established, remember my vision, an already established 2 acres of vertical gardens right next to a livestock pen, right next to another large chicken coop. And we met the owner of the property, a man that had purchased the property 7 years ago to turn it into a thriving eco farm. But it was just him working on it. The owner loved this land, you could tell. And he walked us around showing us everything, showing us the plantains, the bananas, showing us the papaya, the guava, the passion fruit, showing us the cacao, the coffee, showing us everything. The land was lush. It was beautiful. It had a 3-bedroom house on the property with another standalone unit right next to it around a central courtyard, just like in my dream. This man had been here for 7 years, building everything with his own hands, pesticide free, organic, house dripping in beauty, lush overgrowth. And walking the property was like walking with deja vu. Hearing his heart and the way that he loved what he grew and how he had taken care of the land. He showed me the long walkways lined with cacao all the way down to a beautiful river. And when we got there, the animals came out to play, immediately falling in love with our family. Playing with our children. And Mark also had started a project cutting a road down to the river that circled the property, showing us where he had cleared lands, where he had had hopes and dreams of putting tiny homes one day. And then he showed us a pool at the top of the mountain next to the house, filled with fish. And then he told us during the hurricanes in 2017 how the house was untouched by the hurricanes. How he had food to get through 8 months with no power, but that encouraged him to make sure he had water filtration set up on the property, backed up by solar. How he had brought in generators to get off the grid. How he'd helped others. That there's a bus line from the inner city that runs right up to the property. And there was access to a local airport. What makes this property perfect is that it fits every bit of the vision. It checks every single box. This is the property that will help change the story for the people of Mayahuez. But not just that, it will create a ripple effect that moves beyond this region and throughout Puerto Rico. We believe this project is a key to change, a small key that opens big doors of revolution, of sustainability, of working with the land, not against it, of raising crops that are native to Puerto Rico, moving away from the cash crops that have dominated the island for the last 130 years, but tapping into the DNA of this island to grow and produce what it does so well. This is going to be a place where people come to put their hands in the soil and to give and to take equally and in equal measure. It's not a place of escape. We're not doom and gloomers. We're futurists who believe the greatest days of humanity are ahead of us, and we have a role to play in this transformation. This is going to be a place where people come to realize their responsibility to steward the earth, to steward themselves, breaking off the chains of who they thought they were and stepping into the reality of who they were created to be. Because it's more than just about farmland and helping our neighbor. It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves and healing this world and making it look like heaven. Because I believe with all of my heart this is possible, and I know that you have a role to play in all of this, because it's not just about land, it's about connection. It's not about projects, it's about people. And through what I can only describe as divine encounters, we have made incredible connections already in the few short months we've been here within the community. We have the leading professor of soil science and the head research assistant of the university ready to join this project and help in any way they can, even using the property for classroom projects for their students, providing an immediate influx of local volunteers who in turn can let those in need know about this project. The professor of architectural engineering at Mayoez University has offered his services free of charge, offering to pull any permit needed for our building projects, to assist in the design of our tiny home village and anything else we can dream of, and again has offered his students as volunteers to build these projects out to move things forward. We've met with another couple near Mayoez who's been pushing forward on a similar vein project for the last 3 years, sharing their advice and experiences, lending invaluable insight to what to expect, bringing others into the property. We've been placed into contact with local food distribution charities throughout Mayoez, Maracao, Las Marias, who will be our initial hands and feet in making sure the produce of the land goes to those most in need first, and work in union with us to meet the needs of the most vulnerable in the community. And we have a small team ready to move and get to work doing what needs to be done to prepare this property for its initial steps. And we have others willing to come and in their way with their essential roles to play. Anna Grace, I know you're listening in right now but unable to join the video call. We're looking at you, kid. We know you have a special role here. Our timeline is to use our first 6 months on the property to begin putting the infrastructure in place to multiply what's currently being done. While the property is already yielding impressive amounts of produce, all of what's been done has been done by one man. With our small initial team, we're going to be expanding and modernizing and experimenting with new farm techniques, including permaculture and aquaponic concepts envisioned in places as far away as Suez, South Africa, Kona, Hawaii, and cutting hydroponic techniques developed in the very unique location of Lexington, Kentucky. True story there. I can't tell you our source there. He's asked to remain private, but let me tell you, huge things are coming. We have the team ready to go, ready to not just simply serve people who've been pushed to the margins, but to change the fabric of a region and the destiny of a nation and the world. And we're not just talking about physically. We're talking about holistically, body, mind, spirit. We're talking renewal and restoration. And after the first 6 months of prep, garden regeneration, pond installations, and land clearance for additional farmland, we'll begin the installation of our tiny home village. And by December of 2024, we expect to be able to host visitors in the main house with the goal to launch our first retreat in April 2025, with the first steps taken with our tiny home village being able to host others, mission teams, visitors, and more. And after that is where the fun really begins, continually hosting teams from around the world who are coming here to work the land, find out who they really are, celebrating life, and working with the community. But even greater than that, we're going to be live streaming events, retreats, classes, festivals, becoming an authority in this space. Because this entire journey is going to be shared online with daily and weekly updates. That's one of the essential keys. On social media combined, my wife and I have a social media following of over 250,000 people. I have the full expectation that this will quadruple over the next 2 years across multiple platforms, generating interest in additional substantial sources of revenue for this project. And the current owner of this property has even caught this vision. And this is where we need your help. Right now, today. The vision, the land, the abundance, the healing, the revolution that this land represents to the people of Mayahuez and Puerto Rico and around the world, none of it happens without the land. The current owner of the property loves our vision. He sees that we're not just going to continue what he began on the land 7 years ago, but we're going to take it to levels beyond what we're even imagining now. And because of this land that he had for sale for $1.5 million, he's offering it to us. 64 acres, everything on the land, the house, the animals, the vehicles, everything, for $900,000. But we need to move immediately because he has other offers on the table. But he's holding out for us. I want you to understand this, that he's had offers for more money, but he is offering it to us for $100,000 less than his next offer because he believes in what we're doing. But he's got to leave the island immediately. We don't have much time, and there's no time for delay. We need to generate $900,000 now. If we cannot pay off the $900,000 immediately to secure a loan for the property, we need to raise an immediate $200,000, including $50,000 in clothing costs. And this is where we need you. To make this dream happen on this land, to change the lives of the people of Mayahuez in ways that go way beyond what we even imagine, we need you to step in with a contribution, no matter how small. Small keys open big doors, okay? If you're catching the vision for this, I need you to share this video with others who might be interested in partnering with this project. But right now, you can go to the link below to contribute. Or if you would prefer wire transfer, I can supply that information at the close of this video. You can transfer funds through PayPal. awake2dreaminc@gmail.com is our PayPal address. We can do wire transfer, information upon request. Or you can mail a check to 20600 Car 102, Box 108, Cabo Rojo, Puerto Rico, 00623. We are a U.S. registered and Puerto Rico-based charity and licensed to do business in Puerto Rico. Your contribution is not going to Jennifer or me or Zane or Heather or to our trustees or our core team. In fact, it's not even possible for payments to be made to Jennifer and I or the trustees from the Awake to Dream bank account. We don't pay salaries. We don't earn a dime. Every penny that's entered into this account will go to the land itself, either for its purchase or for what goes onto the land. Your contribution goes immediately to Awake to Dream INC, and because of this, it will be tax deductible. But what happens after we purchase the land? That's the question. How do we maintain? How do we grow? How does your investment blossom? After purchasing the land, that's the key. After purchasing the land, as Awake to Dream is a U.S. and Puerto Rico registered charity and nonprofit, we're immediately eligible for a tremendous amount of USDA and foundationally backed grants. As last year, over $1.6 billion in grant monies for farm projects were available to Puerto Rico. And while our first year grant availability will be low because our charity here is just starting out, by year 2 we'll be eligible for approximately $125,000 in grant funds. And at the completion of year 3, that's when we meet the establishment threshold. Current estimates put us eligible for almost $500,000 in grant funds. Don't get me started on year 4 and 5 because that's when it gets really exciting. This is how we funded the gathering place in the UK. After we got the property, immediately we set to work on grants and the grants started rolling in. And that is what will happen here, the property first. And additionally, after year 1 and opening up the farm to outside teams, I've conservatively estimated our income from visitors and teams to bring in an estimated $57,000 a year, with online donations conservatively equaling $52,000 a year in addition to available grants, and that is on the conservative side. In full truth, by the end of years 2 and 3, I estimate an annual revenue growth of almost 100%, and this is based on our prior experience with our Gathering Place charity, which more than doubled its revenue growth between 2022 and 2023 once people caught the vision. And this vision is considerably more explosive. And did I also mention that Awake to Dream is not designed to turn a profit? We are a non-profit. No salaries to anyone or personal incomes are generated independently of the charity. And as part of the Constitution, every penny that's raised goes right back into the charity and into the farmland, cementing a legacy that will not just exist to help, but exists to inspire and innovate and expand for generations. In partnering with us, you're more than donating to a charity. You're donating to a life-changing revolution, a world-tilting revolution, a movement that I believe holds the key to changing the destiny of a region and then a nation and in the world. This farm will serve as an example of transformation where earth looks like heaven and showing it's possible elsewhere and showing people how to do it. How to turn their own land into heaven on earth. Because it's not about just bringing in, it's about pushing out and into the world, establishing heaven on earth. And of course, our partners, that's you, will receive exclusive access to project developments, recognition for their contributions, invitations to special events, ensuring they're closely connected to this project's heart and progress. Because it's not just our story, it's yours. And it doesn't happen without the land, which means it doesn't happen without you. So I'm asking today for you to make a difference. The time is now. So at this time, I'm going to open things up to a little Q&A. We're going to open up the floor. What are some questions or concerns that you have? I'm going to stand up and stretch a little bit, and I'm going to open up the chat lines and microphones for now for you to ask some questions.